All right. Wide receiver time. Michael Thomas actually tweeted. Did you see this tweet, Breach?
There's like a few tweets.
Well, he tweeted that Jeff Duncan, longtime Saints beat reporter, and I'm just quoting him here. He said, Jeff Duncan is a hoe. Which was like, okay, Mike, at Can't Guard Mike on Twitter, essentially just he just said he's basically like he carries water for the team, and they give him scoops to bash players to reduce their value, and he's like, I got money, I don't care, I'll tell you all this. And so it was pretty wild. Pretty wild. I guess I got the tweet right here. Jeff Duncan is a hoe, trying to stay relevant, so let's speak on it. The Saints leak information to him to try to ruin players' value, but see, I'm not broke, so I can speak on it. He is broke, so he needs clicks. Go look at all his articles that never end up being true. Wow. I don't know that I want all of I don't know that I ever want an NFL player to tweet Will Brinson as a hoe.
I mean, plenty of people have tweeted that aren't NFL players, so at this point I don't know why you would even care. But just for some context here.
To be fair, I am.
Jeff Duncan reported that the Saints are going to release Michael Thomas, and his issue is that per his contract, he was going to be a free agent on March 13th anyway because of the way the contract was set up with some voidable years, and that he knew all along he was going into free agency, but that the Saints would technically be releasing him versus his contract expiring. So it was more of a semantics here.
Well, and I think it's like he probably feels like the Saints are putting their spin on it. Like, we're getting rid of Mike Thomas, as opposed to, Mike Thomas saying, I'm going to be a free agent. And the Saints and Mike Thomas have not got along for a while. So not a huge surprise. Do you need landing spot for Michael Thomas?
You know what? I'll say Indianapolis. I'll put him with the Colts. I think that, look, he's had some trouble staying healthy. He has not put up the numbers anywhere near the numbers he's put up since, 2019. He set the single season record for most receptions. He has not been the same receiver since. So I think he needs to go to an offense that has kind of a de facto number one guy, and the Colts have Michael Pittman. So you're not going to have defenses worried about Thomas, and that you sign a 1-year deal. You're the number two guy, and you hope you put up big numbers. And anywhere where he can be the number two guy, I think would be good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Calvin Ridley, free agent. And yeah, Michael Thomas is a good possession receiver too, like big physical guy. I mean, so that's really, maybe that's the only concern, is that is he too similar to Michael Pittman, or is that like a good thing? Where you have these two big guys, Anthony Richardson banging slants in there, Josh Downs eating up underneath. So it's possible. I could see him go to Houston too. They got a lot of receivers, but I mean, he would sort of match up well with Tank Dell and Nico Collins, I think. Calvin Ridley. Do you think Calvin Ridley can parlay free agency into a big contract?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because, hey man, he's clearly a gambler, and he is going to get a big money contract. I think he's going to go to the team that throws the most money at him, which is, I think, what 90% of players do. I think that team's going to be the Panthers, and I think he ends up in Carolina. Brinson, living next door to you.
Woo! Panthers need a true number one wide receiver. And it was reported by Cameron Wolf of NFL Media that Ridley is getting closer and closer to going to free agency. Obviously, they tagged, Josh Allen to Jacksonville, and they have to give up a third to Atlanta for Ridley, I think, right? And it becomes a second if he stays in Jacksonville. So it's like the cost of signing Calvin Ridley is even more expensive if you're Jacksonville. That's a pretty high pick after they missed the playoffs. Calvin Ridley is going to be with T. Higgins tagged, Mike Evans re-signed, Michael Pittman tagged. Calvin Ridley is going to get legit wide receiver one money in free agency. And you're right, the Panthers make a ton of sense. Like, Dan Morgan, has to, like, after what Scott Fitterer did last offseason, going with Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst, getting a bunch of, he and Frank Reich put together this sort of dink and dunk style veteran possession offense. You need an explosive playmaker, and Calvin Ridley makes no sense. Plus, Alabama connection with Bryce Young.
Ooh.
Michael Thomas, CJ Stroud, Ohio State connection. I like Carolina as a fit for Calvin Ridley. Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown, going to be a free agent. Former first-round pick. Didn't work out with the Ravens. Didn't work out with the Cardinals, really. It's been okay. Hadn't really developed into the explosive playmaker that we thought he could be. Where you got Hollywood Brown going?
Well, since Calvin Ridley is leaving Jacksonville, I feel like that team will have a kind of gaping hole that they need to fill at wide receiver. I'm going to send Hollywood Brown to the Jags, catching passes from Trevor Lawrence.
I'll say Hollywood Brown goes to the Jets.
Ooh.
Catching passes from or lining up next to Garrett Wilson. Kind of a good fit there, right? Like Garrett Wilson.
That could definitely work.
Yeah, you get a little speed threat down the field, maybe throw some screens, and then Nathaniel Hackett offense from Aaron Rodgers. I can see that happening. Darnell Mooney.
I have Darnell Mooney. It's just a wild going to the Bills. We know that Gabe Davis is going to be going. If you're the Bills, you have to. I mean, we saw what the Bills did this week. There was a total purge. You're cutting a lot of.
Got rid of everybody, dude.
You're trying to slash salary cap, and so you're going to need an even more high-powered offense when you're getting rid of your guys on defense. Because hey, look, you might be in these shootouts, and if they can find a guy who's a little more consistent than Gabe Davis. And I'm not sure they can afford Darnell Mooney, but you figure it out, you make it work, and you have Mooney and Stephon Diggs. Now you have a nice little 1-2 punch.
And just for the record, people in the chat are wondering about the Panthers going with Calvin Ridley. I think it's like called him older and not unreliable. Yeah, they're rebuilding. Matthew said they're rebuilding. Why take on a 29-year-old Ridley who was simply man last year? Because the Panthers don't have a first-round pick. They're probably going to use their second-round pick. I mean, it wouldn't be shocking at all if they use the first pick of the second round on a wide receiver in this deep wide receiver draft class. But, like, they have to, after seeing how bad the receiver core was, this dudes couldn't get open. Like, even if Bryce Young didn't have time to throw to him, but they couldn't get open. And I just think that Ridley is a rare number one wide receiver. I'm putting that in air quotes because I think he's shown that at times, who is hitting free agency. Yeah, he is older, but like you don't have that top 5 pick that they should have.
And what you're saying, Brinson, is if you're the Panthers, if you're picking up a receiver in the draft, you're getting the tier 2 guys because you're in the second round first pick. And if you're in free agency, Calvin Ridley's the tier 1 guy, whether we like it or not. He's going to be one of the top 3 guys.
And when you're a bad team with a desperate owner,
so desperate.
A desperate rich owner who's saying, go get Bryce Young some weapons. I don't care what you do. Go get him some weapons. If you're Dan Morgan, you go out and just throw cash at Calvin Ridley, and Calvin Ridley's going to want to do it. He's got to pay FanDuel back.
Brenton, if Tepper hired you tomorrow, would you sign Calvin Ridley?
If he told me to. I don't know. All right. Curtis Samuel.
Oh, let's see. I sent Curtis Samuel to Houston.
Okay.
When in doubt, just send him to the Texans.
The Texans are going to spend in free agency, I think. I'll say Curtis Samuel to he played at Ohio State. That could work. I like the Texans. Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, wait, who did you pick for Curtis Samuel?
I just went with the Texans too. Just to
okay. Odell, I sent him to the Jets. I just feel like there's always been that flirting between him and Aaron Rodgers with playing together. Maybe you have just a 1-year deal. There's no pressure on you because they have Garrett Wilson. You don't have to, he's too old to be a true number 1 receiver anymore. But I think because the Jets already have Garrett Wilson, that he might be able to survive, especially catching passes from Aaron Rodgers.
I will send Odell Beckham to the unemployment line.
Ooh,
I'm just kidding. I think, he kind of got benched down the stretch for, what's his name? Who's their other former first round pick? It's not Rondell Moore. I'm an idiot. I just can't. My brain is not functioning today. No, not Zay Flowers. Rashad Bateman. Thank you. Golly, sorry. Brain is dead. Off season brain, baby. Love it. Gabe Davis.
Man, Gabe Davis is tough. But I think Andy Reid.
Houston!
Houston Texans. I think Andy Reid has a sense of humor, and he would think it's hilarious if he signed Gabe Davis and Davis went off for like 800 yards, did what he couldn't do in Buffalo and became either a true number 2 or, I mean, in Kansas City, he could end up leading the team in receiving yards because of what they have right now. So I'll send Gabe Davis to Kansas City.
I saw, and Andy Reid told Matthew Berry of NBC Sports, my old boss, by the way, shout out Matt Berry, Mr. TMR, that the Chiefs want Rashee Rice to learn to run Travis Kelce's routes, so that way teams can't double team Travis Kelce. And the Chiefs, they lost Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but they're going to lose Marquez Valdes-Scantling because I think his third year voids or they cut him. They cut him. What am I talking about? Right? They cut him. Yeah. Gabe Davis makes total sense as a replacement. Like the guy over the top, Gabe Davis, like you just make it, just roll him out there, let him run 9 routes. And if the safeties creep in at all, you have Patrick Mahomes bomb it up top. I mean, that's a good compliment to Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. And I really think like the receivers are getting better, but you will see the Chiefs try and make a move in free agency when it comes to adding to that receiver core. So I think KC is a great choice for that breach.